Good evening. Ira Epstein with your financial market wrap-up for Tuesday, the 14th of January, 2025. And if I'm correct now, yeah, we are sitting here about 6:45 p.m. Central Time. So we've had a respite from the break that's going on in the stock market. You had a friendly PPI number today. We're taking a look now, maybe personal consumption expenditures will actually go down because you had a mild PPI. Tomorrow, though, you get some important data. And tomorrow's data is going to give you the Mortgage Bankers Association. I don't know that it's as important as it used to be. When I saw KB Homes come out with blowout numbers yesterday, I went to myself at 7+ interest rate for anything that's a regular mortgage. I don't know what the jumbos are. They're even higher than that. They got 40% increase in business over a year ago. There's something going on. People have just bit the bullet and said, I've got to have my home. So we'll see what that does. We're going to get to CPI. Now, I think this is the last big report of the month. And the reason I say that is I've already in my head, and I think most traders believe, the Fed's going to do nothing at the end of the month at the FOMC meeting. So now we have our inflation numbers out of the way. We're going to have the inauguration, and that means that without the reports, the question is, what does President Trump do? And everything I am seeing points to him being more moderate. I spent a lot of time tonight in my report showing how far Ms. Sheinbaum, of the President of Mexico, has come since she took office. I mean, 475,000 immigrants have been detained since she took office in Mexico. She's open to taking deportees back. She hasn't said no to that. 2,200 pounds of fentanyl have been confiscated. She's turned loose in certain regions her army on cartels. This is all important, and more important than that, she's coming out with reforms now that brings in more business, makes one of the component parts of cars that are manufactured in Mexico and sent abroad have 15% Mexican-made parts. That's very important, and that'll happen over a 5-6 year period. But if you're President Trump, she's not doing things. I don't know that I'm hearing the same things out of Canada that I'm hearing out of that. We'll find out in what the president wants to do. You saw, I hope, today the hearing for Hegsworth. Boy, they drilled him. But I love the comeback of one of the senators when he said, okay, let me understand. He drank and he said he's not going to drink. How many senators come and vote when they're drunk at night? I started laughing in my seat because he was just saying it. And of course, how many of you have liquor in your offices? And how many, of course, I won't even go into the wife thing. All right, Chicago Fed President Goolsbee, he's going to address a forecast forum at 11. Maybe we'll hear from him now what he thinks of those numbers. And we're going to get the Fed Beige Book coming out tomorrow, too. But I feel that it's like, how do I put this? You're shackled with your trading because you want to get these numbers out of the way. And I think tomorrow the shackles come off. And I know I personally have been scared to go into some of these reports because we just are getting our first full week of trade. You do realize that. A lot of hedging going on in the energies, especially the crude. CME reports some of the biggest trade days since 2022 on Friday and yesterday. Massive amounts, they claim, of hedging going on. So as I said, while we've had this beautiful rally in the market, it's not a demand-driven rally. It's one of lack of supply or fear of it, as more and more sanctions are now coming onto Russia, their oil, Iranian oil, and under Trump it'll probably get even worse. So the market's given a bid ready for that. That's what I'm assuming is taking place at this point in time. You know that there's possibly also some good news out of Israel and Hamas. It appears that the draft of the deal is done. It appears that both sides have it, and I'm not hearing that it's falling apart yet. It'll go in phases over a 6-month period, but if it happens, let's applaud it. The end to the killing, maybe these parts learn to work. And by the way, Blinken said something today that you should pay attention to. He claims that in terms of people, those Hamas that have been killed others have come up to join them already. The problem is they don't have the weapons, they don't have the networking, they've got none of that left. They've got an occupying force staring them in the face. So at this point, they're under control. That's the good news, and we'll see if it stays that way. I mean, if it's, in my lifetime, I doubt there'll ever be an end to Mideast fighting, and you think back of all the way from you, since Israel's been formed. Okay, so when we take a look at the rest of the markets, the currency markets, they're in a wait-and-see period. I love that the dollar slipped back. This is part of what I did in my special report. When I put out the report, and you can view it by just moving your cursor to the top here, there'll be an icon, or go to iraepstein.com. I was looking for this rally to get up near the 110 level, have trouble, and start churning. And it's exactly what I'm seeing that's coming here. It is not a sign that this rally's over at this point in time, and that's the important part to that. But we're due for the market to consolidate the gain. So we're fighting this battle in the S&P against the 18-week moving average of closes. That number's 59.10. You're at 58.85.75. Are we going to be able to finish a week under it, or are we going to come right back and say, nah, we came down, we checked it, and the bull market is still to a degree alive? When you look at a daily bar chart, it certainly doesn't look friendly. When I look at this chart, I see a pattern of lower highs, lower lows, still in what I call a downtrend mode there. Resistance begins, and we talked about this yesterday, at the 100-day average up to the 18. That's the sell zone for the pros. Take this number out, and I think the selling part of the market comes to an end very quickly. That doesn't mean it's ready to go up. It probably has to consolidate all this for a bit. But until that occurs, I do look for the selling still in the market. And notice where it bounced from. It bounced on Monday. It hit the lower Bollinger Band, followed up today back to the 100-day average. Very typical action, and still in the bear camp, but it is oversold. Oversold is like a break on things. You have to ask yourself, do I want to sell into an oversold, or do I want to buy into an overbought condition? The only way they get rescued is if that happens, and then you embed, because when you embed, typically, I wish I could say every single time, I'm not saying that, typically you get a move like that. You see it right here, and typically you get a move like that. So you do get those type that come from it, and on the downside you look for the same, but I can't show you experience in the S&P because we've been in a bull market. You don't have any of those really taking place. In the NASDAQ, you fell yesterday to the 100-day average and the Bollinger Band, got your bounce. I'm going to repeat, oversold, resistance in this market, 21,419. When we look at the E-mini Dow, we have lower low, higher high, coming into the resistance right here as we were talking. And in the Russell, same thing. You hit the 200-day average in gray, the Bollinger Band coming up. Look for resistance between the 18, the 100, and up to the Bollinger Band. In other words, this is a big toppy area. It'll take a lot of power to get through that. It can happen, but it would take a lot of power to get through that. Then we get to the 10-year and the 5-year notes, and what we basically have is a market that's embedded. In order for me to get friendly and say, the game has changed, you got to lose the embedded reading. Close it over 21, and I think we will look back and say, for the time being, we've seen the peak in the climb in interest rates. I wish I could say the same in the 2-year. You can't. It never did embed. In the dollar index, as I just said, I'm looking for the market to pull back. It got to the Bollinger Band. It did not embed. It's overbought. It can correct more. It can go back to the 108.50 area. I wouldn't mind that at all. The pattern, you'd have to, in order to tell me as a technician that the trend is over, you'd have to take out 107.57.5, and then you're back to the drawing board. What do we have? I don't see that happening right now. I can see the euro even trying to get a bit higher to the 18-day average, but where's it going to go? Because in time, what the European Central Bank has to do is keep cutting rates. The U.S. is in a holding pattern. The Fed's not going to do anything, in my opinion, at the end of the month. There's absolutely no reason to, unless some calamity comes that none of us see at this point in time. In the British pound, lower highs, lower lows. Same thing. Got a bit oversold, trying to give you a little bit of a bounce. still in a bad way, as I call it. Bitcoin's neutralized itself with a higher highs, lower lows, and sort of stuck here in the center of an 18-day average. And if you look at the Bollinger Band, it's narrowing in. This could be where the market bases out for the next assault. And I'm going to repeat, could be to the upside. In energies, we fought a battle between and you see it here, the 200-day average and the Bollinger Band. And you did it for quite a while. You did it for almost a week and a half, 2-week period. And then the market launched. But the launch really happened when President Biden came out and did additional tariffs on the oil and those 183 tankers. Now, by the way, Europe is looking at how do they get away from aluminum from Russia. So product after product, the squeeze is happening, and it's happening because President Trump's stepping in. And everybody's hoping, let's give the squeezes right now as best as we can to get Putin, Trump to talk with the help of, I hope, Zelensky in there, and how do they end this war. Ukraine is going to be giving up land. You can count on that. There'll be no stomach from Trump to just keep throwing military there unless Putin makes it impossible for Trump not to. And then he'll corner Trump, and then that's not what you want to do. In the heating oil, higher lows, higher highs, okay? And you can see where the market's at right now. It's embedded. You're still in that. When you lose the embedded readings is the time that you look then for the market to begin the correction. So far, nat gas pullbacks, in my opinion, to 361 are still friendly. And take a look at the weather picture. It is massively cold and due to get even colder next week than it is now. We're going to be tomorrow in Chicago 3 below zero with our wind chills, which are not that deep. So I woke up this morning, it was single digits in downtown Chicago. So it is very, very cold, and it's going to stay that way, which helps energy consumption right now. I'm Ira Epstein. Remember, take a look at our report on the dollar index. You can move your cursor up to the top for the icon, or go to iraepstein.com, and when you look at the website, look at the top left, give a click, and you'll be into the report. I'm Ira. You take care.